So I am a little bit late to the game with this one. I understand all this. Sometimes I am late to the game with the films I watch because sometimes I don't get to watch them opening night. It's just the way it is. However, this is why I love my spoiler reviews. So waiting a little bit gives me a little bit of an opportunity to kind of get away with a little bit more spoilers and warning, spoiler review obviously. In order for other people to, check what I'm reviewing out first and maybe feel a little bit better with watching my reviews because of me talking about spoilers for most of them. Now, Rob Zombie's The Munsters is Rob Zombie's first PG film, which excited me. I wanted to see how Rob Zombie can take and what he can do with a script and a production that he's supposed to be making PG. Also, being Rob Zombie, he is a movie aficionado. So him taking a project like The Munsters would be like taking on the Addams Family or anything like I would love to see him do a Universal Monsters movie, for example. I've always been a fan of Rob Zombie as an artist in general. When I was a kid, I was obsessed with his music. My parents would immediately look at the album covers and be like, "Nah, you can't have that." And maybe that was part of the reason why I was always drawn to Rob Zombie and his music. I watched his take on Halloween in 2007 and I was very intrigued because I love horror movies. So I'm like, Rob Zombie's Halloween, this is going to be amazing. And I wanted to check it out and it was absolutely incredible. I loved it. Now, there's a few things that I want to say before I start this review in preparation. One, I'm not familiar with the Munsters black and white classic TV show. I've never seen it. Never seen an episode. Looks awesome. I've never even seen the Addams Family, really, other than clips here and there. But everything about the Munsters intrigues me, and the whole concept of it intrigues me, especially with the gothic lore and the black and white classic look of it and everything, which is basically everything Rob Zombie is obsessed with, essentially, and we all know this. And Rob Zombie's artistic tastes are very, very, very similar to mine, musically and like cinematography wise, film wise, especially film wise these days because I'm a film nut. But I want to get that out there. I've never seen The Munsters, so I can't compare this movie to the original show. So bear with me on that one. This is like my first experience with Munsters. I know it's not going to be anywhere close. I mean, it's in color, for God's sakes. I would love to watch this film in black and white or for it to have been more made in inspiration of the black and white series. And I also want to say this, because this is the exact argument that I've always had when it came to Rob Zombie's Halloween. I loved Rob Zombie's Halloween. I had seen clips of Halloween 1978 before I watched Rob Zombie's Halloween, and I knew of it, of course. I'm a horror fan. But I never grew up with Halloween 1978. I've mentioned this many times on this channel before that my parents were very strict when I was growing up when it came to films, and I know that Halloween 1978 was extremely tame, but I didn't watch it until my 20s. It's ridiculous, I know. But in 2007, I did watch Rob Zombie's Halloween, and I knew, like I knew 1978 Halloween. I knew the whole story. It's like The Sixth Sense. I've never seen The Sixth Sense, but I know the whole story of The Sixth Sense, the twists, the everything about it. I read the book too. I read the novelization of The Sixth Sense, but I've never actually sat down and watched The Sixth Sense from beginning to end. Funny. But I watched Rob Zombie's 2007 and I loved it, man. It was amazing. And it's Rob Zombie's Halloween. And a lot of people have a problem with that. Like, why does it have to be so violent? Because it's Rob Zombie's Halloween. But you don't need that backstory. And why does it have to be so sick and depraved? Because it's Rob Zombie's Halloween. Why do people have a problem with it? Like, it's Rob Zombie's vision. This is why You look at the director, a film by Rob Zombie, a film by Jack Nicholson. He's an actor. I don't know if he's directed anything. A film by Christopher Nolan. You know what you're going to get in Christopher Nolan's Batman. You're not going to get Joel Schumacher's Batman if Christopher Nolan's name is on it. It's like you name so many examples of this. It's like, let's say, okay, there's a remake coming, all right? Back to the Future. We're remaking Back to the Future. Directed by Quentin Tarantino. It's like, oh yes! And then somebody goes to the theater and watches the movie, and they're like, God, Back to the Future 2024, that movie was ass, man. I fucking hated every minute of it. Well, why'd you hate it? Well, you know, you got like Mads Mikkelsen as the father, and you know that French girl from Inglourious Bastards? She plays the mom. What kind of casting is that? Yeah, it's a Quentin Tarantino film. Yeah, those people are in Quentin Tarantino films. The French girl, yeah, was in Inglourious Bastards, yeah. And the whole time, I'm watching the whole thing, it feels like, you know, a mix between like Pulp Fiction and little elements of like Kill Bill. Right, it's a Quentin Tarantino film. Like, what the hell was going on? Back to the Future is Back to the Future, man. You don't mix all this action like and then like the 60s 50s music with it all. Yeah, it was directed by Quentin Tarantino, so it's going to be a Quentin Tarantino vision. You saw Quentin Tarantino's name. You saw Quentin Tarantino's name in the poster, right? It's like that. So it's the same reaction I have with everybody complaining about Rob Zombie's Halloween being too. It says fuck too much and it's too like hillbilly trash. Have you seen The Devil's Rejects? Like this, you have to go into a movie knowing what to expect. This is another reason. I'm not going to get like off topic too much, but a lot of people go to see films because of an actor or an actress that they love, and I always suggest to them that's fine, but make sure you also know who's directing the film, because just because, let's say, Will Smith is in a film doesn't mean you're going to love the film, because Will Smith might be in something that you typically it doesn't suit to you, kind of thing. So the creative eye and the creative vision behind any film is something that should be watched and something that should be taken into consideration, because that's what the film is going to be. Like, if you're going to a Tarantino film, expect a Tarantino film. If you're going to a zombie film, expect a zombie film. So when it came to the Munsters kids movie, PG, Rob Zombie, holy shit, I want to see how he does with this. And I went into it. It wasn't great. I don't disagree with a lot of things that people are saying about it, but it was fine. It was good. It was entertaining. Now, I don't know. I agree with, shout out to Cody Leach, a channel that I watch a lot. Who is this film for? He mentioned in his review. I agree with that. Like, who is it for? It's really not for Munsters fans, that's for sure. It doesn't target kids of this generation too much because they didn't grow up with the Munsters, and the humor is kind of like it's in that in-between line between trying to recreate the Munsters, which kids today aren't going to know, but trying to appeal to adults who know of the Munsters, not including myself because I am not familiar with the source material, but also not kind of hitting that target and demographic at the same time. So who is this made for? It's a good question. But overall, for what it is, it's a very cartoony, very colorful. I was impressed with how Rob Zombie actually utilized the color that he used in this film, because it was extremely like neon color to a certain extent. So, I mean, for a goofy, family-friendly movie made by Rob Zombie that still has Rob Zombie sprinkles of Rob Zombie-ness into the film, I mean, you couldn't ask for more, in my personal opinion. It's not great, but it's not god-awful either. A lot of people are putting this in, like, the worst film of the year category, and I'm like, come on, man. Maybe you're not a Rob Zombie fan, and that's fine. I will say one thing before I get deeper into the plot. A lot of people pick on Rob Zombie, especially for his writing, and I'm talking about, of course, his typical horror films where they're filled with profanity and filled with gore. A lot of people have a problem with how many times he uses, fucks and cunts and all these words. I would say that that's his niche. So him writing a family-friendly film, it didn't seem to translate very well. I will agree with that because it's not his niche. But for the project, I mean, he could have done much worse, kind of thing. It's like, if I used Tarantino as an example before. If you got him to write a kids movie, again, it's not his niche. He's going to do the best he can to do so, but you're not going to get a traditional Tarantino film with it. But basically, we start off in a graveyard scene, and I love anything gothic when it comes to films. So the graveyard looked great. The epitaphs or whatever you call them, the tombstones looked fantastic. I love the wolf howls. Ah woo! They were great. You have Richard Brake, who, if you know Richard Brake in any other role, seeing him here is actually kind of funny because he's so tame. It's like seeing Joe Pesci in Home Alone when you know what he's like in Goodfellas and Raging Bull and all these roles where he's just like this maniacal gangster kind of guy. Richard Brake is, I mean, he's the guy in Halloween 2 who was talking about fucking corpses and how he didn't have the urge till tonight. And here he is in this movie acting all like kiddish friendly and stuff like that. He's grave robbing with this guy who's supposed to represent Igor, but his name is Fluke in this film. And they're grave robbing, and he's like taking pictures with the corpses, and he's going like this, and he's going like this, and he's doing all these like modern things. This film is very modernized, and I don't know if it's kind of a 50-50 with my opinion on whether that was a good idea or a bad idea, again, because we're dealing with something that's supposed to be relating to a source material that's from, is it the 50s or the 70s? I forget. But we're dealing with an older subject matter, and Rob Zombie does everything to modernize the hell out of this film. But the settings and the set designs were great. The score is the best thing in this movie. Obviously, Rob Zombie's a musician, so you're going to get an amazing score and amazing song choices throughout the entire thing. Sherry Moon Zombie, again, she's another person, she's another actress that everybody picks on. I don't think there's anything wrong with Sherry Moon Zombie, and I don't think there's anything wrong with Rob Zombie casting her all the time because it's Rob Zombie's wife. And she's fine. Like, she plays her character, Lily Munster. I mean, she plays it in the vein of, you all know exactly who I'm talking about, I apologize. The actress who plays Alvaro, who also makes a cameo in this film, and she plays it in the vein of that character, and she does a really good job. Sherry Moon Zombie, I mean, and so you can't ask anything more of her because she delivers her performance fantastically. Jeff Daniel Phillips also does a really good job playing a family friendly role when he's used to doing other things in more of the vein of a Rob Zombie movie. I really, really loved the character who plays the Warlock. How he has this nightclub and he does the most hilarious dance that's totally beats Tobey Maguire in Spider-Man 3. I'm telling you, this dance that this guy does in front of the doors of this nightclub, where it's like it says on top of the nightclub, if the tomb is rocking, don't come knocking. And he's doing this ridiculous thing when he's on this date with Lily Munster. And I love the Frankenstein throwback. Everything about that scene was hilarious. Again, the set design was perfect. It was neon colorful. It was funny. The way they recreate it, but they change the dialogue around, like when Fluke says, "It's alive! It's alive!" It's not exactly as it was in the classic, obviously, but he says, "It's alive!" And then Richard Brake's character comes around and Fluke holds out a cockroach, and the cockroach is alive, and he's like, "Oh, the cockroach is alive. That's what I meant." So that was funny. It was a funny take on it. And I really, really had a good time with, especially the first half of this film. Now, I will say that in the second half of the Munsters, it definitely starts to lose steam, and I would say it loses steam basically when Lily Munster and when she's on her honeymoon with Herman Munster, basically. It starts to get really, really repetitive after that. Um, Herman's humor is weird, especially in the dialogue, and this is again with the writing. I don't know. I can't disagree with people when it comes to Rob Zombie's writing. In this movie, it feels like a script that was written by an adult that doesn't understand kid humor. Like you know the cheesy like dad who's trying to make and trying to be hip and trying to be cool but is completely acting foolish and it just doesn't work and has no clue that they're not relating to like the young generation and they're just like making a fool of themselves. That's what it feels like. The shit that comes out of Herman's mouth and the Wolfman. The Wolfman was my least favorite character. I don't know why. Like Rob Zombie really made the Wolfman to be like this cool cat yo character and like yo what's up, I'm the Wolfman, and it didn't work for me. It was just it didn't especially for a Wolfman. Like do that with another character maybe, but I did really like Richard Brake's character as Henry Wolfgang Orlock, and I like what Rob Zombie did with this film, which he does with a lot of his other typical films, is have scenes where there's basically scenes from either old movies, actual old movies, or old movies reenacted. And he does this a lot in this film. He does it with while introducing characters like this news broadcaster named Donna Doomley, who was decently funny. Ezra Mosher, I really liked him, and he has these like comedic skits playing on TV in the background that add to the story and add to like the plot going forward, and I really liked it. I did not like what he did with characters with green screen behind them, and you have like really colorful green screen with like a star or like a spinning circle or some kind of like really neon crazy design. Now, did they do this in the original show? I don't know, so I can't say. But the original show was also black and white, so it would totally look different. This one was like pure neon going on in the background of a character when they were reacting to something like oh, 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 and then you have this weird ass neon green screen going on. Didn't really work for me. I didn't dig that. There was an Ed Wood reference from Richard Brake's character, Henry Orlock, on TV when he's pretending to be he's being interviewed, and it's pretty much the same scene in Ed Wood when Boris Karloff, the actor playing Boris Karloff, was being interviewed, and he starts spewing all this profanity. Of course, in the Munsters, it's all censored and bleeped out, but I liked that throwback to it. I definitely love the Ed Wood reference. And this film was just rushed in the end. The ending felt like, okay, we need to wrap this up, we need to wrap this up, and it just didn't conclude in a satisfying way. And I don't know if that was Rob Zombie's fault, if it was production's fault, if it was just the production being rushed. I have absolutely no idea. But yeah, by the third act of this film, it definitely lost its steam very, very consistently, and it wasn't as impactful as like the first half of the film. The first half of the film was just so well done and so well focused on, and then with the second half of the film, it just seemed to kind of like derail itself, kind of thing, like a train coming off its rails. And it's just a shame because it was really holding on, and I had a better time than, like I said, a lot of people that I've heard talk about this movie had with them watching it. Creature from the Black Lagoon showing up, that was a really good character to see as kind of like a cameo. And I don't even have a problem with many of the costumes in this film. looking like Halloween costumes, looking like something you can buy at Spirit Halloween. I don't give a fuck about that. It's a kids movie. It's supposed to be fun. Like this movie is just a fun blast, and it's Rob Zombie's take on a family movie. So it delivered exactly that. Rob Zombie's take on a family movie. It's exactly what I was saying with the Back to the Future Tarantino comparison at the beginning of this review. You get what you expect, you get what you come in for. So it was goofy, it was funny. Like I said, the third act just rushed way too much. Um, the actress Christina Hendrickson, I am so blanking. I'm gonna write it down because I'm getting pissed off with myself that I'm blanking on her last name. Because who doesn't know Elvira? You know, her cameo's cool, and I'm not a fan of that comic book scene where they're riding in the car and everything in the background is comic book style. I didn't like that at all. That came out of nowhere and it didn't fit with the rest of the movie. So that could have been scrapped entirely. Um, and it was funny how everybody they see that's like normal people, they're scared of, but everybody who sees them as monsters, normal people are scared of the monsters. So it's like the monsters are scared of normal people and normal people are scared of the monsters. And I liked the Halloween party that they were throwing in Hollywood at the end of the movie when they moved to Hollywood. And like it was like basically a street party, but everybody was in masks, so the monsters couldn't see the normal people's faces. So I thought everybody was like them until the morning when they come out of the house, and then they see everybody's normal faces, and they're like, "Oh, oh, everybody's so normal. I'm so scared." It's good like kid humor. I like it. I like it. I had a good fun enough time with the monsters. But again, like I said, you're talking to a person who is not familiar with the source material, and you're also talking to a really, really big Rob Zombie fan. So, you know, artistically, Rob Zombie is like my soul brother. You know, with horror, with music, with metal, with everything. The spectacles he puts on in his shows. Not that I've ever been to a Rob Zombie concert. I wish. But it's cool. I mean, Sherry Moon Zombie is also a queen. I mean, fuck. That woman is so sexy, and she's in her 50s now, and damn. And their relationship, like Rob Zombie's and Sherry's, is perfect. They were made for each other. It's insanity. Such a beautiful, beautiful, gorgeous, down to earth woman she seems, and why wouldn't Rob Zombie cast her in every movie? Like she is good in everything. Well, Baby Firefly, Jesus Christ, she's in that role, but still hot as hell. So the Munsters was fine with me. I have no complaints about the Munsters other than the third act. I wish they had more time to piece it together because it really flies all over the place at that point. But the first half of the movie was really enjoyable. Starts to lose steam real fast as it goes on, and it's too long. They could have shortened it for sure, especially since they were losing steam. They might as well have shortened it because this film goes an hour 45, probably an hour 50, I think. It's quite long for what it is. I really like to, what's his name? Herman Munster, the Frankenstein character played by Jeff Daniel Phillips. He's in a band in the first act, and he plays at this concert, which is in the total vein of the concert that Rob Zombie put in Halloween 2 with the rockabilly, gothabilly style music, which I love that style of music. If you've ever listened to the Cramps, or if you ever, the song that Wednesday Addams dances to in the latest Netflix show of Wednesday, excuse me, that style of rockabilly music, I'm obsessed with that. I love that punk goth sound, especially in like a dive bar. Love that music, and he puts it in this movie just like he does in Halloween 2, just like he does in many of his films. So that totally took me back to that Halloween 2 scene, that Halloween party, and I really liked that, and I really like how he has a group of friends, a group of co-workers, like employees that he likes to work with and is close to, and all love to work with each other, and he uses them, and they all have a blast in making movies. It's great. What else would you want? Like, it's always good to see these returning faces in a movie like this. So I really loved it. I like the Munsters. Sue me. But I can also, like, I'm not totally like blowing the thing. Like, it's not a perfect film, obviously, but for a family friendly Rob Zombie film, it's as good as you can possibly get, and it's a really, really good time. So I'm just gonna give it that. Subscribe to Morgan Film Fan if you like to listen to my voice, or if you like my film reviews. I'll be back with more soon, so stay tuned for those. Check out what's on the channel right now. Stay tuned for what's coming, and until next review, have a good one, Munsters. Take care and cheers.